Hello. I think I did it. Did I do it? I think I did it. My God. I was just thinking if this just starts working and I don't know it's working, I'm going to just be swearing. So much swearing. And I had it really nicely framed before and now look at this shit frame. You can see my light. I've got that poxy light that all the Instagrammers have got and you can see my chocolates that I got for Mother's Day. So, anyway, got it working. Got it working. That is the main thing. Hello. Thank you so much to everyone who waited. 14 minutes? Oh my God. I'm so sorry, but thank you for waiting. Bellatrix, Tesme, and Steph Walker. God, you're a mate. Thank you, Steph. You're always waiting. I put on a face and everything. The tingling you can hear is a kitten. I thought I had them all out, but obviously there's one still left. There's always one left because I've got so many kittens. For those of you who don't know the kitten story, I have friends. This is not crime related, as far as I know, but I have friends who are, oh, good on you, Steph. She ordered Thai while she was waiting. Very productive use of your time. I have friends who have a kitten rescue charity that they've started and years ago. And I always said, when I'm not working as much, I'll be a foster mother for kittens. And of course, I picked the year when there was a kitten glut in Melbourne. And so I fostered 7 kittens, and I think I actually just own 7 cats now because Melbourne is awash with kittens. So this is Morgan. Say hello. Hello, everybody. This is Morgan. Look at him. He's a beautiful kit. Yep. Hello. And he is available. That's the other thing. So, yes, there we go. So, crime. Um, Seriously, though, thank you, everybody. We've had an amazing week. My goodness, for our 100th episode. Thank you to Zoe and Monica who help us with the podcast now because of the Patreon page that we started. We've been able to get help with the podcast, which has been amazing for Emily and I. And so we have a producer, Monica, and we have Zoe, who helps us with all of our online stuff, including this. And this cock up tonight is not her fault, believe me. This is because I did not have time really during the week to test it or look at the tutorials or anything like that. So this is not on Zoe. Anyway, um, so because of those two wonderful women, they did things like, helped us to make a big deal of our 100th episode. I would not have known it was our 100th episode at all if it wasn't for Monica, who said a few months ago, hey, let's put numbers next to the episodes. Things like that. So thank you to our patrons. That is awesome. Thank you, Katie. Katie Worrell says, I look amazed. It's the Instagram light. Really, really does wonders. So yes, that is a big part of it. But we've had a great week. We had one of those banners on iTunes when you click on there, and we had an episode about Snowtown, which a lot of you would know, with Jeremy Pudney, who is the journalist from South Australia, who wrote such a great book in 2005 about Snowtown, about the murders. And so it's been a huge episode for us. It's been the number one episode, number one podcast in Australia for days and days, which is huge. I don't know if you check that ever, but yeah, it's a big deal because it changes a lot during the week. But yeah, it's been number one for ages, so it's good. Stacey, yeah, it's working. I know, right? Did you go away for a while and then come back? I don't blame you. Thanks for coming back. That's massive. So yeah, this is really great. I think this is really fun, and especially when it's working, that's super fun. So maybe we could do this. Do you think this is a good time? Thank you, Stacey. Thanks, Aza. Azza, sorry, sorry, Azza, Azza. Um, do you think Sunday night at 6 o'clock is a good time, or is that like dinner time? My dinner's in the oven right now. It's a cannelloni. Um, is it a hard time to do this for you, 6 o'clock on a Sunday night, or is it a good time? I'd love to find a time that's really good for people to be able to maybe have a weekly chat. What do you think about the show? About what you'd like to hear more of, less of, any questions you have about the episode, things we forgot to ask, things we missed, because we can always, phone people up and get those answers. Maybe do updates. We always talk about updates. Uh, Definitely Elaine. People ask me about Elaine a lot. Elaine was the lady who was in the jewelry shop in Melbourne that was robbed by an African gang. And she certainly had some PTSD issues. And people ask me about her a lot. And we definitely will speak to Elaine again. I personally have spoken to Elaine a couple of times, and she's doing very well. In fact, she walks around the block every day. She walks around her neighborhood every day now, which is massive. That's a very big improvement for her personally. So yeah, we'll definitely talk to Elaine again soon. Should be good. Um, oh, great. Stacey's dinner also in the oven. Tell us everything, hold no details. Well, I usually don't hold details during the podcast unless they're like too hectic, which is very rare. I mean, usually we, you know, share pretty much everything with you. Very, very rarely do I decide that something's too harsh for your delicate ears. Usually we play the warning at the start and let you make your own mind up. So yeah, usually you get everything we get pretty much. I just take out anything boring or anything embarrassing in terms of a stupid question I've asked. That's the benefit of being the editor. Is you get to take out your own dumb questions. Anytime is good time. Good for you, as Jackie. How good's your name? Laurie, or Laurie, I'm not sure, says, when will Emily's books be re-released? She's working ever so hard on them. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it too. They're really, really, really good books. And there's so many updates on the stories and now extra stories, of course. So yeah, she's working really hard with them. She and Vicky Petratus really keep each other working on their books. It's really cool. They've got a little working circle going together to keep each other motivated and keep each other going, um and sort of, you know reading through each other's stuff, and I'm very envious of their working relationship and the time that they get to hang out together because they know so much cool stuff. And every time Emily's been over to Vicky's place for an afternoon, she comes back with the coolest stories. Yeah. um Oh, Mel says that Elaine is one of the reasons she became a patron. Thank you so much, Elaine. Mel, sorry. Yeah, we got such great help for Elaine. I mean, what was great about that was that I know a lot of people heard Elaine's story and did not necessarily agree with everything she said. And, a lot of people felt a bit uncomfortable about certain things that she said, but everybody wanted to help her and everybody thought, you know, she's an old lady who's in trouble. And so we got a lot of and a lot of free help as well. Like a legal services came out to offer her free assistance, and victims compensation people she felt had let her down already certainly came back and said, oh, let's have another look at that, which was good. So yeah, she says she's doing much better. And she's very keen for the chat to let everyone know how she's going. So that's good. Stacey Kirby says, are there plans for more events in June? Oh, you'll be in Hobart at Dark Mofo. Cool. No, there's no more events in June, but we will be back with events later in the year. And Ron Hills has agreed to do another event for us later in the year, which is awesome. But Narelle Fraser is definitely doing another event in a couple of months. So stay tuned and we will let you know about that. She's doing another event in Melbourne without us this time in just a couple of months. So we'll let you know all about that. And then Emily and I will be back with some events in spring with definitely Ron Iddles and some other people. Hopefully Narelle, but she might be tired. She's just like working really hard because everyone's gone crazy for Narelle Fraser, right? Which is so great. And she's always just so shocked. And yeah, it's really beautiful. It's really wonderful. Will I be doing any more nitty gritty? I know. I really want to, but it's like every time I put time aside to do it, I always just come up with ideas for true crime. But this podcast, every time I sit down and think, okay, I'll do some nitty gritty. That was, for those of you who don't know, that was my first podcast, and it was just eh, about interviewing interesting people, just people I found interesting, and that's how I met Emily. Um, because I started drifting more and more towards true crime. This is when like the only true crime podcasts were Serial and Case File, and so I just started drifting more and more towards true crime because I was really interested in it. And then I met Emily and I was like, you should do like a true crime podcast. That would be amazing, like an Australian true crime podcast, because she knows everything about it. But she's really compassionate, and she's like really gentle about it. She's not sensational, or she's not like really aggressive about it. She's got this really nice, gentle curiosity about it, which I thought was new. I'd never met anyone who approached crime the way Emily does. And she was like, "Oh, really? Do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would listen the shit out of that." And and then I finally went, "Would you do one with me?" She said, "Yeah." So, and then ever since then, like, I'm so passionate about it that every time I try and think about nitty gritty ideas, they just end up being true crime ideas. So yeah, I'll get around to it. I will get around to it at some stage. Not crime related. Are you planning on writing any more books? From Katie. Yes, I was just saying today I was at the Queenscliff Writers Festival today, and it was so wonderful. I was there with Hilary Harper. Oh gosh, what a wonderful lady. Yes, my next book that I'm working on right now is called Losing It. Yes, it's about all the things, like all the things I've lost, which sounds terrible, but it's actually not. A lot of them were great to lose. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on now. The worst crime that always sticks in your mind. Oh, yeah. Well, at the moment, it's the one that is coming up this week, which I swore to you I wouldn't. I swore I wouldn't tell you what it is because I don't want anyone else to rush in and do an episode about it before ours comes out, because it's getting so competitive now. Like I felt like the true crime podcast scene wasn't so competitive until really recently. It was like, yeah, there were lots of true crime podcasts, but it felt like everyone was so doing their own thing. And it was like, I always felt like you could listen to all of our shows cover the same case, even, and we all did different things. And so they would all complement each other. But now I feel like people are kind of trying to pip us at the post sometimes, and it's a bit, yeah. But anyway, this Thursday, the episode that's coming out is one that we wanted to do for such a long time, but we didn't know who knows about this, like who's the expert on this case, because I always felt like there's so much we don't know about it, and yet it's such a big case, and it's anyway, it's the story of Carly and Candelise. And I was working at the project a lot when certainly when Candelise's remains were found in the suitcase by the side of the highway in South Australia. And so whenever I hear her name, I hear Georgie Coughlin's voice saying it. And I just always remember Georgie and I both, having young daughters at the time, and thinking about the contents of the suitcase started coming out, and we talked to each other about how our daughters had things like that, and little dresses like that, Dora the Explorer t-shirts, little slippers like that, and it's just such an awful, awful case, and the two of them separated for so many years and by so many miles, and so a young journalist by the name of Ava Benny Morrison has written a book, and it's so good, and I feel like she's really done this young woman and her daughter and their family a really great service. It's one of those that I feel like you've really done you've really done something for these victims, and so at the moment, that's the worst one in my mind. So just thinking about them all a lot. Yeah. Hello, Morgan. Meow, little kitten. Family tragedy discussed with Andrew Rule. Oh, someone would like to talk to us about the other side of victim stories. How can she contact us? Facebook. All the messages that come through Facebook do come to us. So that's always a great way. And we often share stories with Andrew Rule, depending on what comes through. We had a tip off on a story that was pretty serious, and we felt like he would be best to know what to do with it, and he certainly did, and he passed it on to police, and it turned out to be quite a significant piece of information. So yeah, absolutely, you can talk to us about it, and we can talk to him about it too, if you feel like that's or not, if you feel like that's appropriate. But yeah, Facebook is a good way. Oh, as my interview with McKnight tonight. Poor Rob. Oh my God. So, thank you. So there was a conversation recently where Rob McKnight and I had a conversation that was supposed to be about anxiety and social media and how what a bad mix they are. And um and then the Daily Mail ran a headline saying that Georgie Gardner had talked me out of killing myself. Which was not correct. Um, Very embarrassing. And and then news.com picked it up, and then I had the sweetest people contacting me saying, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Um, yeah, I'm really embarrassed, but apart from that, I'm okay. So, but thank you. I thought it was a really good conversation too, and it's just about, yeah, it is hideous, but it's just about, like, I think for all of us, when you're feeling low anyway, um, yeah, social media can be really bad for you. But you don't realize it at the time sometimes. That's all I was trying to get at. And what I said was that for the first time, I sort of felt like I understood Charlotte Dawson's um, feelings, because at the time when Charlotte used to get so caught up in it, I was one of those people who'd message her and go, "Mate, turn it off. Who cares? Like, who cares what randos think about anything?" But for the first time, because I was low anyway, my father was dying, and um, because of his health, my anxiety was really high anyway. So because of all of that, I was just really susceptible to anxiety, anyway. So that's what we were talking about, but they just really irresponsible and quite cruel. So heaven forbid I was suffering poor mental health. Can you imagine? And then they wrote that. Like, how irresponsible, whatever. Yeah, will we be organising a Boggo Road tour? Yes. Yes, I did one years ago and it was amazing. It was amazing. Yes, we must do that. Tommy and I need to do a Stinky and the Bandit podcast. Well, listen, anytime Stinky's up for it, all he needs to do is call me, and he knows that. Um, oh, Steph, yes, Steph, you did message me. Thank you, sweetheart. Yes, you were one of the beautiful people messaging me going, "Are you okay?" It's just embarrassing, Barb. Yes, thank you. What do I do to unwind after listening, reading, watching too much true crime? Stacey, the sad part is that is what I do to unwind. I know. I don't know what it is about that. There's something about the um I realize that I sort of, particularly a good investigation, I really enjoy this sort of particularly like when you're reading about Ron Iddles or one of those people, and just how methodical they are and how they work through something. Something about that I find really relaxing, actually. Sort of mathematical, and I find that actually really relaxing. Um, Thank you, Karina. Thank you so much. Um, Now, I did make a note to tell you, by the way, that because just a few days ago we released the episode about Snowtown, and at the end of it, we talked about the fact that Robert Wagner was applying to have a bail period um, applied to his sentence, because at the moment he has no bail period. He's serving 10 consecutive life sentences. And gosh, was it? I think it was just Friday that bid was denied officially by Justice Greg Parker. So yeah, Robert Wagner is still serving his 10 consecutive life sentences without bail. So I was wondering what you thought, for those of you who have heard the episode, what you thought about Emily and I talking about the movie, and about how it kind of manipulated our feelings with regards to Jamie Vlasakis. Are we the only people who have these kind of sympathetic feelings about Jamie Vlasakis because of the movie? And I know you all know the scene we were talking about, because I've thought about that a lot um, since we did the interview. And to be honest, I was thinking, oh, are people going to find that really creepy, that we were sort of feeling for Jamie, thinking, oh, come on, let Jamie out. Um, I was wondering what you thought about that. Were you feeling the same way about young Jamie Vlasakis? And do you think it was for the same reason? Do you think it was because of the movie? Um, yeah. Are we just sops? Is this what happens when women talk about crime? Do you think we end up being caught up with things like that? Re-listening to episodes. You are keen, Rebecca. You are keen. Okay, Katrina felt the same way about Jamie. Do you think it was because of the movie, Katrina, or just, I mean, his story? When Jeremy mapped out his story the way he did, do you remember that moment in the podcast when he talked about, well, Jamie was sexually assaulted by his father, and then he saw his father die, and then he was sexually assaulted by his brother, and then the man up the street, because his mother was a drug addict, and then he had the misfortune of having a serial killer come into his home. I thought, oh my God. It's just one of those moments where you realize the dumb luck of life, you know. And I have that experience a lot, and that's always what's behind my thinking about, things as wide ranging as uh, refugee camps and all of those things. Is just like, God, how is it that I am just so lucky, and that some people are just so unlucky? And that's sort of how I felt about him. Oh, Sarah, you just got it from the book. Yep. Yeah. He was portrayed in a very empathetic way in the movie, Laurie. Yeah. Daniel, very pragmatic. At the end of the day, though, cards of life are dealt, and it's up to the person to make the change for the better. Very pragmatic, Daniel. You're a Liberal voter, aren't you? Sorry. 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 That was unnecessary. You only just watched the movie last night, Matt? Oh, girl, how are you going? That's hectic. That's a hectic Saturday night. Any shows planned for Queensland? Yes, indeedy. Absolutely. I can't remember where we're at with that, but yes, definitely, because we sold like 1,000 tickets in Melbourne in 2-hour lots. Like, we sold the first two in 2 hours and then the second two in 2 hours. So we're a bit shocked, a bit shell shocked, but yes, definitely we're going to go everywhere now. And we're excited to do that. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to you too, Amy, whether you're a mother or not. Yeah, I've got to see the movie now, says Mel. Yes, you do. You have to see the movie, Mel. It's crazy. I mean, but do you have to see it? Because it's like, it's pretty hectic. It's full on. Matt agrees. It is full on. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine, but it's one of those ones that people would say to you, it's full on. And you go, yeah, I get it, mate. It's about Snowtown. But even for that, it's full on. So be prepared. Yeah. Oh, what was that? Sorry. Do you think your team and the other Australian-based true crime podcasts would look at doing a conference similar to Crime Con States? Yes, I would love to do that, Ali. And even it's ringing a bell to me. I think maybe someone has spoken about that. Yes, I would love to do that. But of course, the case file person's a mystery, isn't he? Is he mysterious? I think he's mysterious. I think that's the caper there. But I know a couple of people who work on that show. That show seems to be quite a machine. It's quite fascinating. Uh, um, some girls, women, sorry, not girls, women who were researchers on that show have contacted me just to say hi. And in fact, one of them contacted me to ask if I was hiring researchers. I was like, what? What? We're it, mate. At the time when I was like, no, we don't hire people. What are you talking about? So yeah, it seems like quite a big one. Case file Casey lives in Sydney and supports the Roosters, says Katrina. Oh, wow. Case file gossip. Roosters supporter. Wow. So yeah, but I would love to do that. I would love to have a crime con. Because as I say, it feels like, we all do things so differently. Love to know how people work. And I know there's a new podcast coming out, True Crime Podcast, because I was chatting with the host yesterday. And this person's very, I don't want to say anything because what I'm thinking is positive, but I don't want to give it away anything about the person. So I'm not going to say what I was going to say. But it was great, positive chat, great positive relationship, encouraging on both ends. So let's keep it all that way. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And we love Andrea Rule so hard. And I mean, I loved Murder Archives. Oh gosh, I loved that so much. I really did. And normally I hate produced podcasts, ones that go, and she was walking down the street and we hear crunch, crunch, crunch of shoes walking. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I know what walking sounds like. Normally I hate that. She was on a tram, ding, ding. But I really loved it in that one. I was like, why do I love this? I normally hate that. But yeah, loved that one. Yeah. Do I think Ivan Milat has a partner in crime? If I do, I'm not going to say. But I mean, Amanda Howard's your girl. Speaking of true crime people I love. Yeah. Amanda Howard. I seem to recall Amanda Howard told me that A, she does think he had a partner in crime, and B, he lives quite near where Amanda Howard lives now. She's just saying it. So yeah, and it's funny, I do here now I'm saying it. I do, it's funny, it pops into my mind a bit, that idea that the two methods, the two methods, uh, that is strange, isn't it? The two methods at one crime scene in one crime to have two victims killed in different ways. One shot and one stabbed, and stabbed so enthusiastically, if I may use that word, which I shouldn't. I definitely am down with that theory that the stabbing seems to be done by somebody who is very much into stabbing, and it seems very strange that that same person would then just shoot the other person, the other victim.
It seems strange that they would lose the opportunity on that second victim. So uh, that crime scene does make me suspect that there were two people there, one of whom enjoyed shooting and the other enjoyed stabbing. A terrible thing to say, but that's what we're here to say, isn't it? I feel really guilty saying that. Yeah. Sandra Pankhurst, any chance of more interviews with Sandra? Oh, what a fantastic woman. Yeah, why not? Yes, let's do it. See, that should be nitty-gritty though, don't you think? Because I felt like Sandra Pankhurst is that the trauma cleaner. She's the subject of that brilliant book. But I felt like, was it crimey enough? You can answer that question for me. When we had that episode, I thought, is that crimey enough? Maybe that should have been a nitty-gritty. Adrian Cadulo asks me, were there two methods used in that crime by Ivan to make it look like there were two people? I just don't know that Ivan's that bloke. You know what I mean? I don't know that Ivan's the bloke who's thinking about making things look like anything. This is a bloke who had, you know, the t-shirts and the tents and the water bottles of victims in his garage 4, 5, 6 years later. So I just don't know that he's the bloke who is thinking in that moment, oh, what I should do is use two different methods and then they'll think it's two different people. I just don't reckon. Oh, should there be an episode on William Tyrrell? I mean, Angela, you know, I'm sure I just don't know what would the episode be? So many rumors. And again, speaking of tip offs, I mean, we get a lot of strange messages to Facebook about that case, and you just you can't use any of them. You can't use any of the information because who knows if it is information, it's rumors and speculation. And what would the episode be? We just have to wait. And certainly, if anything, is ever proven, absolutely. But yeah, we've just got to wait like everybody else. I think that, yeah, we just follow along like everybody else, but it's terrible, isn't it? It reminds me very much of the Daniel Morecambe case and all those years of just waiting and waiting and waiting. And now to look back and the findings from the inquest recently, a couple of weeks ago, were just heartbreaking, weren't they? To find out that they had uh, interviewed Cowan so early on that some investigators had said, it's him, we got him. And higher ups had said, nah, let him go. And I know that Bruce and Denise then spent years chasing rumors, driving up and down the freeway, visiting the houses of pedophiles, um, conducting their own investigation. Just crazy stuff, just chasing rumors, awful. So, God, please, can we just find out, hey? Do I listen to Real Crime Profile? Which one is that? Is that the Jim Clementi one? Love that. Love that guy. And that wonderful woman from British lady from Scotland Yard. Love her. Love her. I love Narelle. Oh, the Ordinary Man, Mr. Ordinary goes to jail. Wonderful, wonderful. Maybe wrong wording. High profile. Mr. Ordinary, wonderful. Ricky Balcom murder would be a good one. Thank you, Adrian. I will check that out. I will Google that as soon as we finish this up. Yes, absolutely. The Daniel Morecambe case that they didn't search immediately because they treated the case as a runaway. That happens a lot. We hear that a lot, and I'm sure you've noticed that as well. Those cases where if you're a certain age, um, God, heaven forbid, you have any history of sex work or drug use. that it's very easy for people, I'm going to say people, to say initially, oh, don't you reckon they're just like off on one and they'll come back? And it's, hard for family members to convince people sometimes that no, I'm telling you, that is not this person. They would not do that. Please go and look for them straight away. A case of a hitchhiker from Yamba who tried to hitch home after work but never made it. Her name was Lee Ellen Stace. Oh boy. Her remains were found not too far from McLean. Thank you. I will definitely look that up, Melissa. Yeah, great. So, okay, another question. Do you think we should do this? Should we do this on the regular? And is Sunday night 6 o'clock a good time? What are your thoughts on that? And also, just 1 minute. Nothing. That was nothing. Great. Okay. You know what? I'll just be here and I won't cock it up next time. I'll be here at 6 next Sunday. Stop by if you can. If you can, and that's fine. Hopefully Emily can come. Hello, Tiny. Hopefully Morgan can come. He is available. Should I have a different kitten every week? And we can just see who can get adopted. We could do that. Okay, and then we'll have to go. Any plans for more conversations with prison guards? Yes, but I mean, once you've had Vaughan, it's very hard to top that. But yes, definitely. Hit me light. Morgan, beautiful kitten. We should do Facebook Live. Is Facebook Live better? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a kid having a go. My brother-in-law, Michael, is studying media. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. And anyway, people just tell me this is the way to go. Karina's dad was a prison guard. They always have good stories. Of course they do. Should we talk to your dad, Karina? How's he go? Is Bart still in our team? No, Bart gets great jobs because he's very good at what he does. So he keeps getting great jobs and is unavailable. But yeah, he just is very good at what he does, so he gets great jobs. Vaughan is a beautiful legend, isn't he? So gorgeous. Vaughan. So we'll do more Pentridge tours with him. Hey, we should bring Vaughan to Brisbane for Boggo Road. He would have great questions, wouldn't he? Yeah, let's do that. Because we're definitely bringing Narelle into state, by the way. Any contact with Daniel O'Keefe's family after his remains were found? Yes, absolutely. Yes, after his remains were found under the home. So Daniel O'Keefe was a man who was missing for years, and his sister Lauren started an organization called MPAN, Missing Persons Advocacy Network. And Lauren and I became friends, good friends, and we're still good friends. And she still runs MPAN. So yes, I mean, I remember very well the day I saw this poster on a electricity pole saying, "Where's Dan?" And I was like, "What's that?" And looked into it, and yes, it was his sister looking for this young man. And yeah, so she and I became good friends, and we're still in touch. And she's still running MPAN, and she's just the best girl in the world. And she works so hard for other families of missing people. Yeah, she's good. Vaughan Ruddick, Mr. Ruddick episode was awesome. Such a cool guy. I know, right? The stories of the self-mutilation in hospital in Pentridge. That is another story that stuck with me a lot. Yeah, that poor man, right? The disturbance of that man mutilating himself and cutting himself and then rubbing his own feces in the wounds to create infection. I mean, that stays with you. That story. Yeah. Yeah. Hectic stories, hey. Wow. Yeah. And you kind of just you have to think sometimes, okay, why are we telling this story? Why are we sharing this story? What is the point to this? Is it just to point and stare? Is it just to shock ourselves and to shock other people? Like, what is the point of it? And there are there are stories in the book about Carly and Candelise um, that I was asking Ava. I was like, did you? What were the conversations around printing that, like including that? And she said, yeah, yeah, there were definitely conversations, but she talks in the podcast that's out on Thursday, this episode this week, about that and about the decision she made as to why she decided to include, for example, the details of Candelisa's death. And that's, it's really hard to read, but she talks about why she thought it was necessary. So yeah, it's interesting decisions that need to be made around this material. Zoe's mum's on. Hi, Sandy. Do an episode on Alexander Carston, the Cutty Sark murders. I will, Sandy, in honour of you and your terrific daughter. Oh, Sandy's in town too for Mother's Day. I know that. Absolutely. Narelle's story about finding the lady in the boot of the car. That is an extraordinary story, isn't it? Yeah, she'd been left in the boot of her car by her husband. Yeah. And she was still alive. Yeah, barely. Yes, that is an extraordinary story. So in that case, I mean, you feel like you're telling the story for the victim, aren't you? You're sharing the story on behalf of this person who's just been victimized and just left for dead, like she's worthless, like she's just nothing. And he's sort of banking on no one caring. Same with Candelise and Carly. It's like a person's just thrown them literally by the side of the road like they're rubbish, like they're garbage. So in that case, I think that's why you tell their story, isn't it? Just to prove that people do care, that they're not garbage. They are worthwhile and they're valuable. Yeah. Oh boy, when a lady set herself on fire at the 7-Eleven. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, mental health stories always stick with you, don't they? Yeah, the agony. The agony being trapped in a mind that's in that much pain. Yeah. The young bloke who did the podcast with his mum. Greg? Do you mean Greg? You would love an update on Greg from Sarah. Greg's going great. I will check on that. But last I knew, which was quite recently, Greg was going great. I might see if I can text him right now. The Snowtown book's available in our bookshop. Mon has just texted me to tell me that. But yeah, Greg's great as far as I know, still with that lovely lady. And okay, I'm going to email Greg. Yeah, isn't that great? I mean, he's lucky because he's got a great mum, right? But hard to get employment and stuff when you've been in jail. Greg, yeah, that's Greg. What a beautiful dude. I'm going to a women's prison soon, in a couple of weeks' time for a visit, and really interested to see how different it is from the men's prisons that I visited, and that's where I met Greg. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how different it is physically and how different the vibe is there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'll certainly tell you all about it. I should let you go and let you get your dinner out the oven and get on with your life. But hang on, tonight, Adelaide are doing an interview with one of the Snowtown murderer's sons on Monday night. Yes, I was just reading about that. He was 3 years old, right? Last time he saw his dad. Yee, wow. Ugh. Yeah. I'll be very interested to see that. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the heads up on that. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us, joining me, joining everybody. And I'll be back next week at 6. I'll make it work. At 6? I think we've figured out how to do it now, which is not the way all the tutorials said to do it. But you know what? Who cares? We did it. We made it work. And thank you so much for joining me. And let's do it. Thank you, Sarah. You have a great night too. And I'll see you next week. And great episode out on Thursday. Now, I'm just going to reach forward here, just real casual. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Not ended yet. Bye.